It's the Final Word Daily, coming to you live from the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, not to be confused with the University of East Anglia, which is the UEA. My sister got very confused the other day. She's like, "You're going off to the UAE, not Norwich, UAE." Yeah,
anyway. Creative writing course at UEA, don't they?
They do indeed.
Yeah, very good.
And even more excitingly, we have a brand new sponsor for the Daily Show, Ambassador Cruise Lines. And their first intro of the show, which we're going to give them so much love over the course of the next 3 weeks, is, I hope you're ready for this, giving you the chance to cruise with cricket legends this December. Gucci's going to be there, Blowers, Aggers, Chudes, my best mate, your best mate.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we start the actual show about today, the opening day of the Cricket World Cup, the Women's T20 World Cup. In 30 seconds, we had 2 matches. Over to you, Daniel Norcross.
Dark horses Sri Lanka have been beaten by Pakistan in a game that I was incredibly surprised turned out the way it did. More of that anon. Scotland played their very first game in a Women's T20 World Cup and they got off to a good start with the ball, but they couldn't make it over the line with the bat. It's been low scoring all day. There've been an epically few number of boundaries, but it's made for tight, interesting cricket, and what it tells us about the rest of the tournament, who alone knows.
We're going to get into what it says about the rest of the tournament in due course. But we're just going to start with the tail of the tape of Pakistan versus Sri Lanka. As you said, Sri Lanka, after their Asia Cup win, and after taking a game off England last year, not to forget the fact they actually lost series to Ireland a matter of months ago, kind of went into this competition as, could they be the one to upset the apple cart? If they nab a game off India or Australia, they can sneak through to the semi-finals. Because India and Australia in this group, I hope you're keeping up.
I am.
This match was actually incredibly important because whoever loses this, in effect, has to beat the 2 big guns. And Sri Lanka, even though they bowled out Pakistan for 116, they never got close in the chase.
Never at the races at all. And look, one of these things, you can obviously get recency bias and stuff, don't you, Cam?
Yes.
And you look at a game and you think, aha, maybe certain things were happening when we were thinking about Sri Lanka's form. We think about how well they played against England last year in England, but they faced the likes of Lauren Filer, Nat Sivabrunt on pitches that are a little bit quicker, people like Vishmi Gunaratne, Samara Wickrama, Sanjiwani, as well as Atapatu. Didn't really mind the pace of the ball coming on, and perhaps that is what allowed their batters actually to score the kind of totals that put England under pressure. Here, on this slow pitch, it's not super slow, and it's not really ragging, but there's a couple of things that's really important to note. The boundaries are enormous, and the outfield is really quite slow. It's not like a billiard table kind of boundary. Outfield. So I wonder if, especially against Pakistan, whose super skill is to bowl incredibly slowly. I mean, a couple of balls at 39 miles an hour today, a fair few at 41 miles an hour.
Incredible.
Amema herself, Sahel, we've got to talk about her action, because there's this moment where her front foot hovers and waits then to go down, and then the right arm comes over so low, and then the ball, it just doesn't get up above shin height. And I just wonder if the likes of Gunaratne and Atapatu, we always know the thing with Atapatu is if she's in after 6 overs, good chance she's going to get a lot of runs. Get her out early.
1 out, all out here.
Well,
1 out, all out.
Not quite, because Sri Lanka are better than that.
It's a sledge.
But on this surface, I think they've found out a bit. And I think, actually, what we learned more about watching both of these sides playing in England is how much pressure Pakistan put on England in May this year, when they packed the offside field with what one of their coaches described as the Berlin Wall, and they did it again. 6 fielders in an arc from short third round to mid-off, and say, come on then, if you're hard enough, can you go up and over the top?
You're weaving storylines here. It's wonderful.
So many storylines. But I think they work, because I think what we've understood here is that it's what Pakistan did in England, which is a greater guide to success out here than what Sri Lanka did in England. That's my point, folks. That's my point.
I've enjoyed it greatly. And also, on the point of the Berlin Wall, my 2 things I want to say about the Berlin Wall.
Big fan.
One, I loved it through the 80s, wasn't as big a fan in the 90s.
Well, it was barely there anymore, wasn't it?
My point exactly.
It just lacked longevity.
That was kind of my point. To describe something Berlin Wall.
Unlike Prabodani, by the way, who's 39. We'll come talk about her later.
The Berlin Wall came down, which I don't know if you want to name something after something that failed. I don't know. Point 2, if the Berlin Wall, you have those 6 fielders or 5 or 6 fielders, also what makes it even harder to kind of... What's the word?
Pierce,
penetrate. Yes.
Well, that was the idea of it.
Exactly,
that's why it's a Berlin Wall. You can't go through it. You've got to go over. You've got to pole vault it.
It's not bear hunt. I'm going to get this point out.
We'll see.
Okay. Because the bowlers are bowling so slowly, it also means that those fielders can be closer congested, because you don't have to have your short third as fine, because people can't use the pace to run the ball.
He's right,
It means that Berlin wall is so tightly packed, it's very hard to get through.
It's a very dense Berlin wall.
It's a very dense Berlin wall, which I think that's.
On retrospect, might have been where they went wrong. They needed to make it denser.
Can we talk about something else?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Pakistan, 84 for 8. Fatima Sana in her debut as captain. She's the youngest debut as captain in the World Cup, I should add.
Yes.
She's the youngest captain in the competition by miles. It's quite an interesting position being the captain of the Pakistan women's team, because the country has such a rich and dense cricketing history. But from a women's perspective, it's still kind of fairly nascent. It's kind of still developing. They don't have that massive rivalry of India that exists in the men's game, just because there's such a kind of mismatch between the two teams at the current state. She, in an enormous moment in her career, has stepped up with bat, ball and in the field. Pakistan were 84 for 8, threatening to not bat out the overs. And if you got bowled out for less than 100, then I think you are just going to lose. She then, after Diana Baig pulled up after one ball of her spell...
Very sad, by the way. Could we just brief on that, because she is an icon of Pakistan women's cricket. You're right, Pakistan women's cricket is a work in progress, but she feels like she's been there sort of from the start, and it was so sad to watch. And then when she revealed by pulling up a trouser leg, nothing particularly naughty about it, but she pulled up the trouser leg, and then what do we see? Lots and lots of strapping.
Never a good sign, is it?
That might be the end of her tournament, and it was off the very first ball of the innings. And may I also point out, because I know you're going to go big on Fatima Sana and what brilliant game she had, but I thought she made two errors. One was, don't come on to bowl now, because then you only get to bowl 3.5 overs, and you're the best fast bowler in the team. So find someone else to bowl the next 5 balls. This, I think, speaks actually to a little bit to her inexperience. And secondly, don't bat at 7. You should be batting at 5. Why does she bat at 7? She got 30 and 20. Nobody else in the entire day got close to a strike rate like that, really. Apart from,
no, they didn't.
Well, there was somebody got 10 or 5 right at the back end.
I've got it written down here. She was the next player I was going to mention in the next game.
Okay,
keep it a secret.
But only batter really to master the conditions. She batted herself way too far down the order, and we were told that Umaima Hussain was going to be batting at 11, not 4. Don't do that to a commentator. That's brutal. They're going, what?
Right.
What?
So I think I completely agree with you on the batting side of things. I think it's quite obvious that she's too low where she is.
Too low.
With the ball, I think it was a judgment call that you had to make. It's like, do I want to fill up 5 balls of the first over with someone else, another seamer? Where is our other seamer? Do we have that quality of seamer to replicate Diana's opening over, or do we turn immediately to spin? And I think in the context of this match, where you're only defending 119 or 116 even, it's a gutsy call. And who did she get out the following over? Atapatu, crucial wicket that defined the game.
Yep, true.
Right.
I mean, hats off to her, because she's come in, she's replaced Big Nida Dar, who incidentally, when we go to Dubai tomorrow, hopefully it'll still be up there. There is a gigantic image of Big Nids all along the seats in Dubai, right next to Heather Knight. You got Heather Knight, you got Big Nids, and you got Harmanpreet Kaur, covering up a lot of seats that won't be being used in Dubai. Briefly on the seats not being used, because everybody will be saying, I bet there's nobody there. Vibes, baby, vibes.
Yeah.
Big crowd. Made a noise. There was a crowd with a noise. And look, they've shifted this competition to Sharjah at the last minute. Not a place that's necessarily renowned for packing out women's cricket matches, because there haven't been any here. And actually, we got a bit of good fun, I thought.
I think it was good. I think what you're going to see is in the course of the evening matches, when there are subcontinent teams playing, people will turn up. I've got 2 mates here who are staying, British Pakistani lads. They're just on holiday and they're like, oh mate, you're going to be at India Pakistan on Sunday. Like, it's on the agenda. People are across it. It's not going to be packed houses where there's going to be thousands of people there. But today there's bands going round. There's the Sri Lankan cohort. There's a Bangladeshi cohort. Scotland brought their fan club. There was absolutely an atmosphere. So the idea that it was the fear that it was going to be a sterile environment has so far been avoided.
It has so far, hasn't it? And I'm pleased about that. I'm very pleased about that.
From one fear to another.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about Sharjah, not as an atmosphere, but as a cricketing venue. The pitch, the outfield, the boundary sizes. because we saw 2 games today that followed a very, very similar trajectory. Just to jump ahead to Bangladesh, Scotland. Bangladesh won by 16 runs. Bangladesh got 119 for 7, and Scotland fell. It's weird. You see won by 16 runs, and you go, oh, close. No. Well, it was close until about 11, 12 overs into the innings, and then they got nowhere near. It's strange because you kind of have to inverse what you hear about the men's game. And this has been a very, very popular soundbite in a lot of interviews at the moment, where you're basically seeing, because there is an increasing amount of data coming into the women's game, they're learning that there's only so much you can actually gain from historical data from the men's game.
True.
And so when you think of Sharjah, I arrived today, and I'll be disappointed if it turns out that the boundaries here are too big and it's not kind of feasible to have these boundary sizes for the women's game, because it looks great. Because in the men's game, this is a small ground.
Yep.
The boundaries you come out here, it's not like the running track around the edge of a football pitch. It's perfect. The boundaries in the same place it always is. You feel like you've got an atmosphere. You feel like you're on top of the game. But as it's then turned out, you combine that with a very slow and low wicket and a very slow outfield. I actually think the outfield's slower than...
Yeah, it is.
I think that's a major point here, because when people are piercing the Berlin Wall, the ball just isn't running away. It's getting held up and people are stopping it. Are we in for, at Sharjah at least, do we just need to mentally adjust to be thinking it's 120 plays 120?
Well, it might be. I mean, what I don't know, I genuinely, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be a journalist, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually poured thousands and thousands of gallons of water onto the outfield, because we're in the hottest, not the hottest time of year, but it is punishingly hot in early October. It's like 40 degrees.
It's amazing.
I mean, amazing. when they go out there and fielding in the first game in the heat, flip. I mean, I'm a naughty boy. I have to come outside every now and then to look after myself in certain ways.
Yeah.
And when I do, in the scorching hot of the day, I can last about 7 or 8 minutes before.
Do you even need to light the cigarette, or do you just hold it in the air?
Not really. I just breathe in the dusty air and the heat of the sun, and I'm done, baby. It is incredibly hot. So look, they might have had to water the outfield quite significantly, and they also might have left a fair bit of grass on it as well, because the sun is so scorchingly hot. So there could be a little bit of that coming into play, and maybe that'll change over time. I did think that there was decent bounce actually for bowlers who were taller.
Yeah.
The Umaima, who releases the ball from sort of roughly where my waist is, was never going to get the ball up. I was disappointed. I saw very few reverse sweeps, very few little fancy flicks over the shoulder. We didn't see enough twos. The best sides are going to be the ones who find the pockets and run the twos.
I think that's really interesting.
And when we talk about the difference in the Bangladesh-Scotland game, and you say 16 runs was a lot, it was a lot, but actually it was a lack of ambition in running those twos. They needed to turn ones into twos. They just had to risk it for the biscuit. And also you found that every Scottish bowler, I mean, the bowling figures there are amazing. 3 bowlers went 4 overs for 23, one went 4 overs for 24, and the other 2 went 2 overs for 13. So they were either 1 run below 6 and over or 1 run above 6 and over. And pretty much everybody who was batting there was also striking at pretty much a run a ball. So it was almost as if the limit of people's ambition was the tap into the onside, get the run. Now, what I'm going to be fascinated with is, will you start thinking, actually, giving away a run is a bad thing? And because you know how you always see this field in a T20, especially a women's T20, short, fine leg, deep backward square, deep mid, long on. And you're thinking, I'm not sure that's a good idea, because that's 6 singles. And you need to make them work a bit harder,
I think it's a really interesting point in terms of a contrast between the men's and women's game, because you're almost forced to, in the women's game, restrict people in that way, because you're only allowed to fire 4 people outside the circle. In the men's game, the automatic assumption is stick 5 out as quickly as possible. Here, because there's 1 fewer person on the boundary, there's 1 fewer gap to find in the ring, and so that the ability to just go at 6 and 7 over is that little bit harder. I do think, and I was trying to whip up this fixture list just to, that's England focused. We love all countries and all cricket, but I was trying to work out, I don't think you're really going to see any. My first thought was, I don't think you're going to see any shocks here at Sharjah. I know this was been Sri Lanka losing to Pakistan potentially.
It might be a sort of a shock.
It might be a shock.
But
I think because as soon as you're getting to a game where, and a venue where 120, 130 could be par, whoever has the slightly stronger, more dominant, more powerful, high quality team, the margins become that much finer. I don't see a world where, like, Scotland are going to be able to hold England to 120, 130, or England are going to struggle to like keep them below a certain score. Anyway,
fitness as well. I think fitness and running between the wickets is going to be key, because there will be twos on offer, and people will just have to go for those twos. And the side that does that best will put the most pressure on, because they are actually quite big boundaries. It's 76 metres straight, 63 and 59. Doesn't sound enormous, but it's not short either.
Well,
so
shout out to
there'll be a lot of spin.
Shout out to Sarah Bryce.
Well played.
Kept in the glaring heat. Glaring heat's one of those words.
Glaring.
And then glaring. I liked blaring. Makes it noisy. It's a noisy heat. And then battered the entirety of the innings all the way through.
She was there for the whole 40 overs, wasn't she?
Whole of the game. To give you a rundown of the Scotland-Bangladesh game, Scotland did really well with the ball. It's so. I keep on saying this because I go, "Oh, Bangladesh got 119. That's really good." You're like, "Well, actually, it turned out that was literally the highest score of the day."
Yeah, it was. Highest score of the day.
But it threatened to be a lot more when they were 68 for 1 after 11.5 overs. And then Scotland were there, man. They were there. They needed 55 of the last 8 overs with 7 wickets in hand. And then they had a disastrous run out between Chatterjee and Bryce, Sarah Bryce. And from that moment, the next 3 overs went for 7 runs. Another wicket fell, and just the brakes on the whole match were hit. Yeah,
well, what you saw was that the depth of the batting was the issue. Now, Darcy Carter, we've heard a fair bit about her and that she can hit large. And she got a little bit tangled up, didn't she? Her first 7 balls, I think she got 2 runs from it. Then when she finally got one out of the screw, she really connected with one. It went all the way down to long on. It was a big hit, but it was a 75-metre hit, and it needed to be a 76-metre hit.
Indeed.
And she was caught on the boundary, and then that was really it, because there was no one else who could bat with Sarah Bryce, and so the game kind of fizzled out. But I thought it was pretty brave showing from Scotland in their first appearance in a T20 World Cup, and great for Bangladesh, who haven't won a T20 World Cup game since
2014.
2014, yes.
And I'll touch on that again in the Final Word Hall of Fame, which we're going to now, which I've realised I've reversed it just to muscle memory. We were meant to do this read in between the 2 matches.
Sorry.
I'm really sorry. I mean, who are we apologising to? Adam, our Lord and Saviour. My Lord.
Oh,
my goodness me, Daniel.
What have I done? Has it gone?
Will
it come back?
Yeah, it will come back.
You sure?
I just need to find it.
Oh,
it's taken me a little bit longer to find than I was hoping.
Why don't you just look at what you sent to me?
I said to myself, there you go.
There we go.
Ambassador Cruiser. Hey, do you want to go on a cruise with Cricket Legends in December? Well, these are your folks.
The Final Word throughout October, including every single episode from the Women's World Cup, is brought to you by Ambassador Cruise Line.
Cruising.
As Adam was explaining on the final episode, Ambassador are offering Final Word listeners 10% off their Cricket Legends cruise. There's a car coming. Do you think you'll be able to get through?
That's fine. They'll cruise through it. Let's walk through. Let's walk forward.
So let's walk forward. Well, this is rather exciting, isn't it?
I'm all for it. As long as the show gets extended in the ad break, we're fine.
Well, that's absolutely
Is
marvellous.
he going to make... we'll just film that there. There we go. This is wonderfully exciting.
Shall I do all of that again?
No, I think you should carry on.
Okay.
I crashed into someone yesterday.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Good for you.
We'll talk about that.
Tell us all about that later. As Adam was explaining on the Final Word episode, Ambassador are offering Final Word listeners 10% of their Cricket Legends cruise, leaving on December the 12th for a week that'll take you to Amsterdam, Antwerp, Rouen and Honfleur. This is festive sailing, where you'll experience wintry delights at each port of call. And here's the best bit. You'll be accompanied by Graham Gooch, Henry Blofeld, Jonathan Agnew and Alex Tudor, who will share cricketing stories and experiences as you sail. And all at a starting price of just £559 per person. And that's before you're 10% off with us. It's really easy. Jump on ambassadorcruiseline.com and pop in Final Word 10 at checkout, and you'll be sailing away beating the winter blues. The Ambassador Cruise Line Cricket Legends festive giveaway getaway I should say, has to be the perfect Christmas cricket gift to yourself of the cricket badger in your life, who will talk about this forever. A week with Gucci, Aggers, Blowers and Tunes. Ambassador Cruise Line giving you the chance to cruise with Cricket Legends this December.
We're getting run over again. We're further away than we were before. If you are watching online, you can't see us anymore. This is carnage. Hey, very quickly.
Yes.
Snog, marry, kill. Gooch, Blowers, Aggers, Tunes as well.
Blowers.
All of them.
Marry. Well, I'm just thinking.
Didn't get the game at all.
Might not last so long. Snog.
Right. Are you still playing?
Aggers.
Yeah?
Marry Tudes.
Marry Tudes, easy.
I don't want to kill Gucci. I don't want to kill Gucci. I don't want to kill anyone.
That's actually the
I
worst
refuse.
answer is you're none of the three. The only thing that's worse than being spoken about is not being spoken about.
Can we get on with it? Because I don't want to be run over by another truck.
Hall of Fame, I'm going to go first. Mentioned it earlier. It was Bangladesh's first win in a World Cup since 2014. For all the kind of emotion that accompanied Scotland's first ever World Cup match, this match was meant to be played in Dhaka. This was meant to be a home fixture, home World Cup for Bangladesh. It obviously hasn't happened because of the civil unrest there. They haven't had a World Cup win in 10 years. And at the end of the match, the last ball was bowled and Jyoti dropped to the ground. She was overcome with emotion. I wasn't sure if she was crying on the pitch, but she was definitely crying in the changing rooms afterwards. And Bangladesh have shared a really sweet, nice video of them celebrating afterwards.
I think that's absolutely beautiful from you.
Yeah? Do you want to add on it?
No, I was just going to go with the... I was going to go with the...
I want to sleep with Childa.
I was going to go with the very quick silliness of cricket. Sweep from Sri Lankan batter, who's currently, I've forgotten, strikes the pad. She's miles forward. It's given out. She refers it instantly.
Oh, yeah.
And we're thinking, OK, I don't think there's any bat involved. We're looking, no bat involved. And suddenly, look up, an umpire signalled dead ball. And you go, is anybody going to explain what the hell has just happened to everybody here? No one was going to explain what happened. I'm still not certain, but I think the towel fell out of the back of the player's trousers. Was that it? And as a result, it turned out to be a dead ball after all.
It was expertly spotted by Tash Farrant on BBC commentary, because I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I was on with her. Thank God for her.
Genuinely. And also, what I really enjoyed was the Sri Lankan batters pointing out when it was on the screen and not when it happened in real time.
So they weren't distracted.
They weren't distracted at all.
They weren't distracted at all.
Anyway,
that's it from us. Is it?
It is. Yeah. I was trying to get my ad read up again.
I'm sorry. Get your ad read up.
Ambassador Cruise. Hey, do you want to go on cruising with legends in December?
I do.
They're the ones. Final word. Get to the website. Show notes. There'll be links there. You'll get 10% off. You and Gucci and maybe Daniel will be there having a great time. Day one. We've got like 17 more to go. I'm so excited. We'll see you tomorrow.
Let's see if we can get run over in that time.